Hey, Shalom, Israel. What's going on? It's Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge right here in the city of Chicago. Coming to let you know about the Midwest Fire Weekend, man. From July 31st all the way to August 3rd, we're going to have an incredible weekend, starting off with Thursday. You understand? The Round Table of Truth podcast with Captain Mawakwa and his whole team. We're going to have an incredible panel. They're going to be bringing heavy topics. You already know how they get down. Then, General Yohahanna breakdown class. Scripture breakdown class. Any questions you got about the Bible or life period, you want to tune in to this class, man. Well, make sure you can be there. You know what I'm saying? Then Friday, it don't stop. We got felony expungement and gun restoration. You got issues with the law? Come check us out, man. We gonna get you right, man. Then after that, lecture by none other than Commanding General Yahanna. You know what I'm saying? The man over Israel, over so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You want to come to this lecture and get the information you need, man. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be called, Where Do We Go From Here? You want to know where you want to go from here, man? With all this stuff going on, come to this lecture. Check it out online. You know what I'm saying? Then, after that, Saturday, what we got? We got to come back and give back to our community, man. We're going to be in a little village in Chicago with our brown brothers, so-called Hispanics. We're going to be giving out clothes, food, you know what I'm saying, school supplies, man. Come get what you need, man. Come support this, man. You know what I'm saying? Then after that, of course, we're going to a day party. We got to go kick it with the brothers and sisters in the streets. You know, that's how we do, man, in the I.S.U.P.K, man. This the Midwest Fire Weekend. You know what I'm saying? Then, it don't stop. Sunday, that's when we going to have the cookout. The cookout, black and brown cookout. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have so-called black, so-called Hispanic coming together. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have vendors, free food. Yes, free food. Who don't want free food, man? Come get some free food. Come let your children have a good time. You come have a good time, man. Black and brown cookout. Midwest Fire Weekend. It's finna go down, man. Make sure you get with us, man. Come enjoy this beautiful city, man. Come enjoy it with the I.S.U.P.K, man. The real priests and prophets of the Lord. You know what I mean? Let's go.
Shalom, Israel. I'm Priest and Officer of 5000 Laban of the Israelite School of UPK under Commanding General Yahanna, here to share a very important public service announcement to all blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians who currently suffer under the stigma and plagues associated with a felony conviction. If you're a member of our community, you know all too well the difficulties in trying to obtain adequate housing, a decent job, your credit is all jacked up, and 100% of the time, you lose your Second Amendment right to bear arms to protect you and your family against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But that stops here. This year, during our 8th annual Fire Weekend, Friday, August the 1st in Chicago, we're launching a brand new service for Black, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. Due to recent Supreme Court rulings and the tireless work of Commanding General Yahanna, it is now possible to clean your record and restore your Second Amendment rights. Join us Friday, August the 1st at 9909 Roosevelt Road, Westchester, Illinois, 60154. To RSVP, call 586-382-0569. If you're out of state, visit us at www.isupk.org, search for your city, and contact the head of the school in your zone to access this services where you are. This is your shot to clean your slate. Don't miss it. Shalom.
We're in front of the Israeli School, Universal Practical Knowledge, the Philadelphia Division, here at 3226 Cheltenham Avenue in Philadelphia. We're standing in front of the school right now, getting a description of the 12 tribe sign that's been painted by one of the brothers that was in the school: Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, Naphtali, Asher, Issachar. Those are the 12 tribes of Israel.
Shalom. Shalom. You've been waiting for this day, so this day has finally come. A lot of you have been wondering where this knowledge that you've been hearing is coming from, and the powerful truth that you've been hearing, how this was established. Well, we finally were able to arrange for the priests to come down from New York and spend some time with us. And I'd like to introduce them if I can. These are some great brothers. We're very glad to have them with us. We want to make them feel as warm as possible because this is their work and the extension of their work and what they've laid down some time ago. I'd like to introduce, first of all, priest and Sixth Shield General, 4th in command in the nation of Israel, Lahab. I'd like to salute this brother. March up. Barak. Yeshabim, which means sit. And I'm going to turn it over now to Priest General Lahab.
Water, brother. I'd like to say this, starting off, we're very impressed at your school here, and we're very impressed to see that the brothers and sisters in Philadelphia think enough of the Most High and the Bible and the truth and your nationality to be a part of this, because most of the brothers and sisters are running from the truth.
All right, Shalom Israel. Yahweh Al Shai Thumb. Yahweh Shema Thumb Bashim Al Shai, all the sisters. Priest and Officer Sherry Wan under commanding Johnny YAHANNA. We got another Monday night history class. So for water for tuning in. Okay. I want to start off by saying, we led the class with just a couple of promotional videos. You want to make sure that you make it down to the Midwest Fire weekend. Okay, coming up in 2 weeks now. Okay. You see all of I.S.U.P.K Detroit classes going on. You're going to see tons of promotion videos. You're going to see all over the Chicago webpage, Chicago social media. All right. Flyers are going to be all over the place. I'm giving you all the details that you need to make it down there. Okay. We got the Midwest Fire weekend coming up. And then, another video that we just played, which is a powerful video. I love seeing it, is, just to kind of segue into the history class. I love seeing that video of commanding General YAHANNA, being here, or seeing a live video of him, with some of the old generals and, who were a part and laid down the foundation to I.S.U.P.K. General YAHANNA has been here in the school, and he has never left. He has never dropped his sword, which is a powerful thing. And I've seen a lot of people try to tear down General YAHANNA's name, commanding General YAHANNA's name, not understanding that, we got videos, we got proof. You know what I mean? We got so many things, stories of brothers who he was with and who were there during the foundation of the school. And General YAHANNA has not gone on to teach anything else, since the beginning of the school, since the foundation of the I.S.U.P.K. in 1969, which is a powerful thing. It says, and let me pull it up really quick. If you go to the book of Galatians, chapter 1 and verse 8, it says, "But though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed." It's crazy for this group like IUIC to be out here saying, that brothers shouldn't be polygamous. That was never an original teaching in the I.S.U.P.K. You got a group saying that Israelites are gonna sexually assault women in the kingdom of heaven. That garbage was never taught in the original school. You know what I mean? These other breakoff groups saying what we're no longer in the new covenant. That was never taught in the original school. Okay, history is a powerful thing. You know what I mean? And since I've been teaching this class, you know, I'm starting to learn the value a lot better of history. You know what I mean? Let's pull that in the book of Ecclesiastes really quick. You know, where the Bible speaks on history. All right, let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes. All right, chapter 1 and verse 9. Okay. Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9 says, "The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun." All right. Oh, give me 1 second. My other one, Masha, is here. All right. Hey, shalom.
Shalom, y'all. Bashim al Shabbat. Can you hear me all right?
Come on, concert, loud and clear.
I cannot hear you.
Oh. Testing.
Okay, I got you.
Check. Okay. No sign, Chris. So, you know, again, I'm just reading. I'm in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1 and verse 9. You know, just kind of breaking down the importance of history. You know, and one of the things that the Bible tells us about history is that there is no new thing under the sun.
That's right.
You know what I mean? The Bible is very clear, and it lets us know that history repeats itself. And it repeats itself because there is no new thing under the sun. That verse breaks down that there is no new man under the sun. That thing that which, let me read that again from the top. It says, "The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be," because the Bible is very clear on spirits recycling the earth. Everything on the earth recycles. You understand? The Most High created animals, and he was done. The Most High created all the fish in the sea, and he was done. He created the birds, and he was done. He created all of mankind, and he was done. He was done with creation. And what that means is that all the animals replenish on the earth. The birds replenish, the people replenish, everything recycles. And when it says there is no new thing under the sun, it's because that same man that was here 2,000 years ago is the same man that is here today. That same spirit is here back on the earth, and history continues to repeat itself. You understand? And the value that we have in that is, you know, we can look at historically where different nations have done well, where different nations have fallen. We can see historically when our ancestors did well and when we didn't do well as a people. You know what I mean? I can go on Google today and ask AI, you know, what are the leading causes to the fall of a great civilization? And AI is going to go through, you know, 20 different great civilizations that have fell and say, hey, I can see a pattern here. Civil unrest is a pattern. You know what I mean? Having society disagree on, ethical and societal norms is a pattern. This leads to a collapse of a civilization. You understand? History always repeats itself. And what's heavy about the Bible is the laws that the Most High gave to the children of Israel 5,000 years ago, 7,000 years ago. You know what I mean? They have never changed. You know what I mean? Christ came and he was walking this earth 2,000 years ago and said, on these two things hang all the laws, statutes, and commandments: to love your brother as yourself and to love the Most High with everything. If you can do those two things, you're going to keep all the laws, statutes, and commandments. You're going to maintain brotherhood and sisterhood. You're not going to steal from your brother because you love him as yourself. You're not going to sell drugs to your brother because you don't want him selling drugs to your children. You know what I mean? Christ understood the law and he taught it to us and showed us how important it was to keep it as a nation. And these laws never change. We're going to get into, some of the history of integration. And, one of the main things of integration was blacks, trying to integrate into white society. And what that entailed was, and we'll hear it out of Martin Luther King's mouth himself, was, some of the, what would you call it? The main ideologies behind integration was simply becoming a citizen in America. Black people wanted to be seen as a American citizen, just like the white man. And those were some of the foundations of Martin Luther King fighting for integration, just to be seen as a citizen. And it's crazy that, not crazy, but when you understand history and you see things repeat itself, it's very interesting to see what ICE is doing to Hispanics today. And what that fight is over Hispanics not being looked at as citizens in America. And because Hispanics aren't citizens in America, Trump puts out this campaign of, we got to rid all these unruly immigrants. We need to deport all these immigrants who aren't living up to white standards. They're not integrating into white society properly. They're not being good white American citizens. You know what I mean? They're acting like criminals, so we're gonna deport them. That's, some of the ideologies pushed. I don't know if you saw that, Mashat Salaki. I'm sure you did, but I remember that video of, they were showing at the White House where they had put signs of all the Hispanics all throughout the lawn, showing them and depicting them as criminals.
You mean in the news?
Khan sir. Did you see that?
Khan.
Yeah.
I saw that.
You know what I mean? They were depicting Hispanics as rapists and drug dealers and murderers and thieves. And these are the faces of the people that we're deporting. You understand? That's what Trump love us and love everybody to believe as to why they shouldn't be allowed citizenship into America. You understand? That's history again repeating itself. I'm going to bring up an article just to show something. Show some of the timelines to the history of immigration. All right, this is from immigrationhistory.org, and there's a couple interesting dates I wanted to go over. The first one was in 1830. It says the Indian Removal Act. And it says, during the presidency of Andrew Jackson, this law authorized the confiscation of land from Native Americans and provided resources for their forced removal west. Salaki, it says, during the presidency of Andrew Jackson, this law authorized the confiscation of land from Native Americans and provided resources for their forced removal west of the Mississippi. So in 1830, okay, Andrew Jackson says, we're going to put all the natives into reserves. We're going to put all the natives, you know, away from us into a land where, you know, we don't have to deal with them in our day-to-day society. And Andrew Jackson forced all the natives into these reserves where we can see today, that's back in what? That's 1830, where we can see today in 2025 how destructive and how terrible these living conditions are on these reserves. You understand? So we see historically them forcing us into reserves. And here's an example. I'm not sure if they have this one in America, Masha, but in Canada, natives still can't get clean drinking water on reserves. In 2025, it's laughable because I remember, you know, something stupid. One time we were walking downtown Toronto. I was out there with officers of Badia, and as we're walking down the streets of Toronto, we see water trucks coming by in the morning, watering all the plants downtown. The water trucks are just, you know, just squirting out water like no tomorrow on all the plants downtown, making sure that downtown looks, you know, beautiful or pleasing, you know what I mean, or it's upkept according to Esau standards. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, damn, they can send these water trucks out here every morning, but they couldn't send this truck to a reserve that's a 30-minute drive from us. You know what I mean? It's insanity. And, you know, not having clean drinking water, they consider that today to be, you know, a third world issue. You know what I mean? They consider not having clean drinking water to be a basic human right. And the Native Americans inside of Canada, they do not get that basic living right. Is that similar in America, Masha?
It's actually worse in America. If we could back up just a little bit, what was that first? Read that again. What you got on the screen?
Cut on concept. So this was in 1830. It was the Indian Removal Act, and it says during the presidency of Andrew Jackson, this law authorized the confiscation of land from Native Americans and provided resources of their forced removal west of the Mississippi River.
All right. In America, that act, that forced removal act, is better known as the Trail of Tears. It's the Trail of Tears. The Seminoles that was called in Florida, other Native Americans that was called in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky. All of these folks along the up along the East Coast, Virginia, West Virginia, the Carolinas, as these bands, as they would call them, bands of Native Americans were captured, they were put on a forced march. A forced march, and if it was during winter, America didn't care. Oftentimes they was marching in the wintertime. Now, the reason you'll hear the brothers out of Detroit talk about the Trail of Tears a lot. Here's why. In that Trail of Tears, nobody was allowed to fall behind or to cause the forced march to slow down. If you caused the forced march to slow down because you were old and sickly, you were unalive. And they didn't necessarily waste bullets on you. Beat you in the head with the butt of a weapon, go get an old horseshoe, hit you in the head, unalive you. Or not just the old folks, the pregnant women that was put on these trails were also unalive. If they couldn't have, when it came time for them to have their baby, if they have it and get up and start back walking and didn't slow down, no problem. But if they slowed the column down, if they slowed the forced march down, understand this was a forced march with soldiers on horseback while all our people were walking. And it slowed down, whatever slowed the march down was unalive. This also included children. You hear tales of children, our children, being grabbed by the feet and slammed head first into trees to unalive them because they were too slow and could not keep up. In America, it's called the Trail of Tears. And after they sent them there, not only did they not have water, they had to go out and find their own water, but their natural meat, meat, the deer, the buffalo, what the Most High say is lawful, they had masses of buffalo killings, just so, for no other reason, so that the so-called Native American wouldn't have any food to eat in the wintertime. Was it the same? I would say pretty much. Pretty much. And it's not much different today.
Yeah, and it's, you know, what you described was, you know, a lot of the same things that happen in Canada. There's a famous highway in Western Canada. I think it's around Alberta, Slovakia. I can't remember the name of it, but it was the same thing. You know what I mean? And the only thing I would add to the conditions is, you know, being in Canada, it is a cold place in Canada. And so we had a lot of people, you know, our native Indians freezing to death, you know, just
that's
being
right.
off in rivers and shit like that. So, yes, same thing. You know, I mean, Trail of Tears. In Canada, they call it Highway something. I can't remember the name of it, but it is the same thing as a Trail of Tears. And it's, you know, as I'm reading through this verse where it says, "There's no new thing under the sun," I can see today so many parallels with the Trail of Tears and what's happening to Hispanics today with
that's right.
These raids. You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right. You know, one of the biggest things that stuck out, even now, let me explain something. Even before Donald Trump got in office, it ain't like the Democrats down here were any nicer. But even before Donald, understand this time around, he's just, you know, he's not even a year into his office. Under Biden, they lost many Latino babies, man. They just disappeared. you know, as they supposedly deported these Latino criminals out of the country. The babies seem to just disappear. Thousands upon thousands of them.
And, you know, and what's something I thought interesting about that is that, you know, there's this myth that America tries to put out that, you know, Hispanics are like the largest undocumented ethnic group, and that is a total lie. You know what I mean? And you know, they try to push that narrative to support all those abusive things that they do that you just listed as the reason to why it's justified. You know what I mean? They put on all these different narratives to justify all those abusive things that they're doing to those babies, that they're doing to those little kids, you know, that they're doing to the elderly, you know, all the brothers and sisters that are going through things with ICE and all these raids, you know, and that America's doing to our people. They make it seem like, you know, they're justified in doing these things. And it's so far from the truth.
Remember that our oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. And therefore, it's absolutely necessary that he paints a picture to create a reason that he's so cruel, to justify his cruelty to Israel. And that picture, it's not meant for you or me. It's not meant for Israelites. It's not, it wasn't even meant for the Latinos. It wasn't meant for any tribe of Israel. It was meant so that his own people can feel that his actions were justified. You see, what did they say earlier this year? They're eating the dogs.
Man, I remember that. They said, what was it? The Haitians? They said the Haitians were eating the dogs. Man, when I heard that other one, I'm like, God damn, the Asians are out here eating fucking dogs every day.
Look, hold up, look, man, look. If I could just for a second, I got the experience of living for a year each time, 2 separate times in a little country called Korea, South Korea. Do you know it's normal to go to the butcher shop and see Fido hanging in the window with no fur? I mean, just Fido. He's naked as a jaybird, ready for the pot. He you know, he said they're eating the dogs, but not once have they said what the Koreans are eating the dogs, the Japanese are eating the dogs, the Chinese are eating the dogs. Yet, if you go into those communities, what you won't find running real free in their communities right here in the United States. We got Chinatown and Little China, Little Vietnam, different things. Go in those communities and see how many dogs you see running around. See how many stray dogs you see running around. See if you see any cats running around. And why is it they don't have a rat problem? But I digress. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
If I could, I just want to add on to what you're saying. Because I've seen, you know, some of these videos. I'm gonna just play maybe 20 seconds of this. Let's see if I got this up. Yeah, it's up there.
Oh, got Fido getting ready for the pot.
Yeah, this is a dog meat selling in China. This is a market in China. Look at that. They got the dog. They got the butcher knife out, barbecue dog. She's sitting there cutting it up, and look at how many people are just walking by. Nobody's
They waiting to get a piece.
Nobody's sitting there with the sign saying "Stop the animal abuse." they're all out there ready to eat. And it's it's crazy when I heard them say that the Haitians are eating dogs. I couldn't help but laugh. You know what I mean? And I was lucky to be in the I.S.U.P.K. When I saw that story come out, because I understood the hatred and the animosity towards our people that it was coming from. Like the brothers in the I.S.U.P.K, we're not surprised when we see stuff like that. We're not surprised that the different narratives that their oppressor will put on us. But to just the regular civilian walking by, they hear Haitians are eating dogs. Oh my God. You know what I mean? They're looking at go ahead, sir.
And this is what they get mad at you and me about, get mad at Commander General Hanna about, get mad at Captain Hadar Yala about. You go get what they call it, you go get the receipts and show who really eating the dogs. You know what I'm saying? You show that's culture. That's the culture of this other people, not the culture of an Israelite, not the culture of the Native Americans didn't eat dogs, they ate buffalo. You see what I'm saying? When they removed the Native American from east of the Mississippi, when they removed the Native American, nobody was complaining about him eating no dog. And they didn't go around killing a bunch of dogs. What they did was kill a bunch of buffalo. You see what I'm saying? Because that's what our people ate. That's what our people use for clothing. That's what our people use for shelter. That buffalo hide is a bad dude. You get that buffalo hide, and you can make it through the winter in America and Canada. You see what I'm saying? But that's exactly what they killed. That's kind of like the military using. How can I put it? It's a type of warfare to prevent your enemy from being able to shelter himself, being able to feed himself. You see, imagine if somebody came over here, I don't know, China or somebody, and they decide to put some grain or bring a foreign object, a foreign entity, and put it in all the cornfields or put it in all the wheat fields. Now you don't have any more bread. You see what I'm saying? Oh, that's right. They had somebody that brought actual chemicals over here, biological agents over here that would destroy. And they caught them up here in the University of Michigan recently, and now they're getting ready to take them through court. They knew exactly what they was doing. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's so heavy too, because it was only and I don't know if I'll have time to find it, but I believe it was only around 5 or 6 years ago. No, Salakia. This might be around 15 years ago, where in Canada, they set new laws limiting how much buffalo, it might have been bison, that
bison and buffalo is the same thing.
Okay, concept. And so they put a limit to how much the natives could hunt during hunting season. And so,
get the fuck out of here. You kidding me?
You know, cut on cut. Yeah, and what's heavy is because I was speaking to a brother. The brother was only maybe 40 years old. You know what I mean? A young brother, and he was telling me a story on how growing up, his father would take him out, and some of his uncles would take him out and teach him as a child how to hunt. So when he's 6, 7 years old, he's out there learning how to hunt. And when they would catch this animal, you know, that would feed them, you know, and some other, you know, and some other families on the reserve for like 2 months. You know what I mean? 2 months, 3 months. It would keep them fed for the whole winter. You know what I mean? And they would use that hide for different things. You know what I mean? For carpets, for bedding, for, you know, for different warmth and whatever it may be. And that was a part of their culture to help them survive the cold winters.
That's right.
And then Canada only a few years ago added a law and say, you guys can no longer hunt so-and-so without this license. And when you get this license, you're only allowed so-and-so, so many to hunt, you know what I mean, per license. And they start adding in these different restrictions to where the brother was saying, there's no point. There's no point in going out to hunt one because, you know, it's only going to feed us for, it might feed everybody on the reserve for like a week or two. There's so many restrictions and limitations on it that now our way of life has changed. You know what I mean? Now the survival that or the food that we had for survival no longer exists because it's either hunt more and go to prison or rely on the white man for more resources.
Salakia, are you picking up background noise from my side?
Just a little bit from your side. I don't want to cut.
Let me know if it start interfering, if it get too worse.
So it's too wild right now. But
go ahead. What you were saying?
Yeah, so it's the same, you know, same tactic. Just, you know, they dress it up in a different way. You know, like the Book of Psalms say, his words were smoother than butter. You know what I mean? He'll say something like, "Oh, these natives are criminal because, you know, they're out here, you know, murdering all these animals." Or, you know, these natives are cruel and it's animal cruelty because they're hunting too many buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
They're just using this for survival. You know what I mean? And so when they slaughtered all those buffalo, you know, as a form of a military tactic, you know, to defeat the natives, it's the same thing that they're doing today. You know what I mean?
Khan, you're absolutely correct.
Khan, so
what else you got?
Yeah, Khan, sir. So let's get into some of the things that, you know, integration has caused us, you know, since the 1960s, with 1960s, 1970s, when we really start integrating into
you got to go. You got to go back further than that.
Well, because in the 1960s, that's when it's and correct me if I'm wrong, when it's almost like integration is now perceived as a good thing.
Here in America, integration was perceived as a good thing from the very beginning. And our people were taught that the thing to do was to get off the slave plantation and to become part of the American dream as early as the 1800s. To become free in America, as far back as slavery goes, to become free in America is what our people were taught to do. And to be free meant you had to integrate. Everybody didn't go for it. Don't get me wrong. We had a fella here by the name of He was down south at the Tuskegee Institute. I can't call his name right now, but he was a botanist. He was he was an agriculturalist. He was a doctor, and he turned in a great inventor. They called him the Peanut Man. You know what I'm talking about? Booker T, not Booker T. Washington, but the other brother. Not Booker T. Washington, but the other brother. But anyway, this brother, he had so many patents. He was free. No, he got his freedom early on. One of the things he made was this petrol. But another thing that he made was plastic car covers. It was a hybrid car cover where he used things like corn and different things like that to make, instead of steel cars, these hoods and trunk covers for cars. And Henry Ford, you heard of him, found out about it and tried to recruit him to come up here to Detroit. But this was a brother that said, no, I'm not going to do that. My people needs me. So he stayed down there at Tuskegee Institute and turned down the hundreds of thousands of dollars in the 1920s that was being offered to him by the rich man Henry Ford. And this is what we have to look at as well, because this is what we were told as far as, and bringing back up to the 60s. By the time I came along, I was born in the 50s, and so by the time I started learning, they was telling us that seriously, if you get integrated, it's the best thing that's going to happen, because on the other side, on the white people side, the grass is greener, the water is wetter, and the ice is colder. This is the spirit that they taught us in, and so therefore, integration became the thing to do, and they could easily, how can I say it, trick the people into accepting integration with different people like Dr. Martin Luther King, and there was people before him that wanted integration. They so it's not just the 60s, but it goes back a ways. But you are absolutely correct. Integration was supposed to be the be all, the end all. But now you have to ask yourself, now that integration is moved in, what does things look like for us?
So, and and that's damn near exactly what the title is today. The title of this class is "We Integrated." Look at us now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look at us
what
now.
has integration done? So I got the title. I got the title as "We Integrated." Look at us now.
Look at us now.
You know what I mean? This 2025. We did it. We integrated, and we're seeing the fruits now. Again, as I say, this is why I love history, because we're able to look back at different timelines and say, okay, we did this in the 20s. We did, you know what I mean? We had if I speak to Jamaicans coming to Canada, Jamaicans they're leaving Jamaica to come to North America in the 40s. You know what I mean? In the 40s and the 50s, and they're seeing what they would think to be what would I call it? Like good opportunities. I mean, Canada had some major railroads going down in the 40s and the 50s. So you had Jamaicans coming to Canada saying, okay, since the middle class white people don't want to do these jobs, here's an opportunity for us to make some money. And
Right.
so we have these mass immigration from Jamaica and Mexico and these different Caribbean islands to Canada, happened all over the States as well, in the 1920s and 30s and stuff like this, where, immigrants are seeing these opportunities. And as they come over here, we're taught, just try to fit into society. You know what I mean? Just do your best to please the white man. You know what I mean? We're gonna go to his schools. We're gonna go work for him. We're gonna go eat at his restaurants. And just fit in, so that we can succeed as a people. You know what I mean? It was the same mentality, as blacks, Hispanics, and indigenous immigrating into white culture, whether they're homeborn slaves or coming from another country. It's the same mentality of, well, if you just celebrate Christmas, white people will accept us. You know what I mean? If you just celebrate his Valentine's Day and sing his national anthem, you know what I mean? Shave your beard and cut your hair and dress like him and play the part. You know what I mean? I think there's a funny one I always laugh at. These brothers will do this to this day. They have their speech when they regularly talk to their brothers, and then there's that speech when you get on the phone with the white man.
That's code switching right there. That's that code. That's they do it here. They do it right here. This place where I'm at right here, it's here to help veterans, military veterans, right? And depending on who's being talked to, it's a whole bunch of code switching go here.
That's what they call it.
It's code switching. The whole language change. It's like, damn, this nigga still speaking English. What the hell?
Yeah, your boss calls you and you answer that phone. All of a sudden, the bass leaves his voice. You know what I mean? He gets that high pitched voice tone in his mouth or in his throat. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? He loses whatever accent or lingo he had.
And maybe y'all don't have this in Canada. Maybe y'all don't have this in Canada. But what about the brothers? Like you said, they talk big time. We call it Ebonics. We were taught it was Ebonics, but they talk ghetto.
Sure.
But let that boss call on the phone. They pick up their cell phone. Hello, this is Richard. How may I help you?
That's right. Got all kinds. Got all kinds. Yep.
So y'all got some of that too, huh?
Absolutely, Ottawa. Absolutely.
God.
You know what I mean? And we're taught that because it's a form of survival for us. You know what I mean? We think that if we don't fit in with these people, you know what I mean, that we're gonna lose our job. You know what I mean? If we don't talk the way they do, if we don't, sing their national anthem or stand for the national anthem, you know what I mean? We're gonna be looked at funny. We're gonna be looked at weird. And we can't have that because we got a family to feed. You know what I mean? And so that's the. Go ahead, sir.
I was just gonna say you hitting a heavy point. Heavy point. One of the most, and I see it every day, even right now. One of the things that integration has brought in is the mentality of clowning. I come out here where I'm at, located right now, to be alone and everything. Now, as long as I was waiting to get a hold of you, I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. And I had some music playing and everything. Everybody was all calm and collected and cool. Soon as I start coming on this show, all of a sudden they want to turn up the radio. They want to sit up and clown for the white boy that's sitting out there, all this kind of stuff. And that happens throughout our people too much. In other words, and I'm just, even though I don't do this, I'm just using me as an example. If I have a job, and there's some brothers that work there and they work a little bit below me, we all cool until the oppressor walks in the room. And now, as a black, I have to be the most by the book nigga in the room. I gotta check all the other brothers for being you're doing too much here, you're doing too much there. I got to be the overseer, or I'm not doing right. It's easy to do. We saw the same thing in the military. I spent time in the military. Like you say, we integrated, but look at us now.
Yeah, awesome. Shoot, let's you know, just for time's sake, I'm gonna play some of these videos I got.
Yeah, let's see what you got.
So yeah, let's show some of the effects of integration.
That's a good, yeah.
So I got this is an article here from defendersnetwork.com. Okay, and they got a lot of good information on, you know, some of the things that happen to us after integration. All right, I'm gonna read this really quick and then play a little of the video. It says in 1962, before integration, the average wealth of white households was 7 times that of black households. In 2016, after integration, that wealth gap widened, with the net worth of a typical white family being 171,000, being nearly 10 times greater than that of a black family, which is 17.1 thousand. And that source came out in February 27th, 2020.
Is that in Canada?
This is in America.
Oh, this is in America. Okay.
Oh, concept. And so it's saying that let's just say, you know, we thought integration was so beautiful and wonderful, and we fought for it and we got it, and now that we're here, you know, we thought integrating, now we'd get some of that white man's money. Now we'd be able to work at his jobs and work at his restaurant and work at his colleges and, you know, work at his hospitals. And now maybe we'll have something better for our families. Well, if that was the ideology, how come the wealth gap between us and them has gotten worse?
Say that again, that last part.
It was the white concept. If integration was a good thing for the black economy, how come the wealth gap has gotten worse since 1962?
You asking me? You asking the general? You asking the UPK?
This is a general question. You know what I mean?
Or are we just asking Americans?
Man, I'm asking Americans. Specifically, I'm asking blacks, Hispanics, and indigenous who are not in the I.S.U.P.K. I'm asking brothers and sisters who believe that integration was a good thing. You know what I mean? Because how many people are going to sit here today and say that, well, what's the problem? Now we have no excuse. We go to their schools, we can go to their colleges, we can get their education. Now, all of a sudden, the narrative that our people like to say is, it's our fault that we're in poverty. because now there's no excuse. That's
I hear
what
you
the
talking,
average
brother.
black man would say today. That, you know what I mean? Hey, Salaki, I don't want that background noise is getting a little louder.
All right, let me move to a different location. Take me off the stage, mute me up, and I'll move it.
Okay, come, sir. I got it. You understand? Because this is what, you know, the average black man would say today. If you were to ask him about, you know, was integration good for us? You know, you want to bring up poverty and this and that? Everybody's going to say, well, you know, in 2025, there's no excuse. There's no excuse to be in poverty. You have every opportunity in the world. You have every equal opportunity, you know what I mean, to get ahead in this economy. You got some black wealthy people who are going to sit there and say, well, I did it. Look at me. I was able to get this money. I was able to open this business. I was able to get all this real estate and all this wealth. Look at the achievements I did. I was able to move into the white man's community. You know what I mean? I was able to go move into Star Island, you know, down in Miami and South Beach with all these other rich white folk. Well, if that's the case, and I'm going to read this again, it says, in 1962, before integration, the average wealth of white households was 7 times that of a black household. In 2016, after integration, that wealth gap has widened, with the net worth of a typical white family being $171,000 per year, being nearly 10 times greater than that of a black family, which is $17,100 per year. That's 2016. It says, another study reported by the New York Times showed that for every $100 in wealth a white family has, black families hold just $5.04. Not even enough to buy a typical fast food meal. Let me read that again. It says, another study reported by the New York Times in September 18th of 2017 showed that for every $100 in wealth in a white family has, black families hold just $5.04. Not even enough to buy a typical fast food meal. That's what's going on today. And I'm going to play a little of this video that just helps explain a little of the wealth gap.
Below the surface of America's trillion-dollar economy. Below the surface of America's trillion-dollar economy, there are inequalities between men and women, age, education, but the largest inequality is skin deep. The largest creators of wealth in America have been black people. For 246 years, enslaved Africans created the wealth for their owners, a wealth that whites still profit from today.
I'm going to rewind that back just a little bit because I don't want to miss that. It said the largest creators of wealth, all right, the largest creators of wealth inside of America has been black people. All right, I'm going to play that again.
The largest inequality is skin deep. The largest creators of between men and women, age, education, but the largest
Give me 1 second. Just gonna let it load.
The poverty in Black America. Below the surface of America. The poverty in Black America. Below the surface of America's trillion-dollar economy, there are inequalities between men and women, age, education, but the largest inequality is skin deep. The largest creators of wealth in America have been Black people. For 246 years, enslaved Africans created the wealth for their owners, a wealth that whites still profit from today. Since its inception, the U.S. economy has had two realities, one Black and one white. The structural barriers put in place before the Civil Rights Movement still affect Black Americans of today. Let's look back at some of these barriers. Black Wall Street. In 1905, Ottawa Gurley purchased 40 acres of land in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and named it Greenwood after a town in Mississippi. His vision for a place of upward mobility for Blacks led his plan to subdivide land into residential and commercial lots. Greenwood soon became an epicenter of wealth, education, and advancement for doctors, lawyers, and realtors, and built an economy valued at $5 million today. Booker T. Washington dubbed Greenwood Negro Wall Street, and in 1921, a two-day massacre destroyed this town. The race riot killed over 200 African-American residents and just 50 white Americans. Ottawa and other drivers of economic growth lost a bulk of their fortunes. The total property loss amassed $2 million and left 10,000 African Americans homeless. Federal Housing Administration. In 1934, the FHA introduced policies that prevented African Americans from buying homes in specific neighborhoods by dividing cities into A, B, C, or D classifications, which institutionalized racism and segregation. This tactic, called redlining, denied home ownership loans based on race and ethnicity. This discouraged the possibility of investment in Black home ownership. This clause went on until the 1968 Fair Housing Act was established. Today's facts. While the U.S. government has played a huge role in our racial wealth gap, so have U.S. banks. African Americans have faced subprime mortgages with exploitive higher interest fees by big banks, including Bank of America and Wells Fargo. In 2008, Cleveland sued 21 of our nation's largest banks for violating fair housing laws by singling out African Americans with subprime mortgage loans to people who could never repay. Home ownership among whites is 28% higher than that of Blacks. 2/3 of Black Americans are clustered in the 16 states that perform the lowest in economic output.
Yeah, let's stop that there. So some of the issues we got is that after we build this country up and we come out of slavery and we're actually allowed to purchase land, you have a brother do something like purchase 40 acres of land, turn it into residential and commercial property, build it up to what was known as Black Wall Street, and white people destroy it. They burn it to the ground. You have things like redlining, which goes on to this day, where if you're simply of an ethnic background, you are going to be denied for a mortgage, or your mortgage interest rates are going to be so high that you're most likely not signing that paper. You understand? They had a case in 2008 of suing 21 major banks. This is in 2008. Of what did they call that? Unfair lending practices. 2008.
You're talking about predatory lending.
Concept. Yeah, I mean they did this in 2008 because if you're Black, Hispanic, or Indigenous, you are not getting approved for a loan for a home. And a lot of people may not understand this. Maybe a lot of people do. But 50 years ago, if you purchased a home for $10,000, that home today is now worth $600,000. So if you were unable as a Black, Hispanic, or Indigenous man to buy a home, specifically one in a good location, you know, where the community is flourishing and there's businesses that are growing the community up, bringing money into the community. If you purchased a home in this area, you would be a wealthy person this day, and you would have passed on wealth to your children and your children's children. You know what I mean? That wealth continues and it grows. You know what I mean? Any business, you know, major businessman would tell you to this day, the main way to obtain wealth, you know what I mean, and to increase wealth is to have wealth. You know what I mean? Jay-Z had one of those famous songs where, you know, he said he purchased a painting for $1 million, and 3 years later it was worth $3 million. You know what I mean? You need money to make money. You know what I mean? You need money to buy a business. You need money to invest into a business. You need money to invest into real estate. You need money to do these things. Money makes money. And that's why there's such a massive wealth gap between Blacks, Hispanics, and Europeans to this day. And it is only going to continue to increase because money makes money. Slack, you wanted to say something, other one?
If I could, just and I understand where you're coming from. You're talking 2007, 2008 in America. That was the great housing crisis. That was the great housing crisis, and a lot of them lost a lot of money, but a lot of us lost our houses. You see what I'm saying? They got all types of things on TV about that. But here's what happened when integration moved in. We stopped. I don't know if it happened like this in Canada, but we stopped buying from our own businesses.
Okay.
We stopped going to our own hotels. You know, we had in Montgomery, Alabama, they had that Montgomery bus boycott with Rosa Parks. You heard of Rosa Parks? You heard of her?
Kind of on concert.
Okay. The whole idea was they was mad because we had to sit at the back of the bus. And this is how Black leaders are even today. They had to. We were mad because we had to sit at the back of the bus. Do you know there was at least 5 major bus companies after they shut that one down, because they shut it down with the boycott, that they could have took over all the routes down there in Montgomery, and it would have been Black-owned bus companies that would have been running that. But what we did after after Martin King and his cronies, who was leading us into a deeper integration, after they determined that they were successful in the bus boycott, they stopped going to the Black jitneys. They stopped going to the Black alternatives, and then they took their dimes and quarters and got right back up on that white-owned bus line, and therefore put the jitneys and put the cabs and anybody else that had helped them make it through the boycott, put them out of business, and then gave all our money to the oppressor. If I could.
Yeah, no, that's heavy. And you know, there was that this year? I can't remember if that was this year or last year, but I think it was over in China or Thailand or something like that, where they were fighting for something. I guess a law to be passed or something like that. And what the Asian population did was boycott public transit, and the government immediately folded. I think it was after like one day, because all the billions of dollars they were losing from Asians boycotting, using the train and buses and, whatever public transit there is, the government folded it. It was in like a day or two because of all the money that they were losing. And, so much so that this is like they call it like a known practice of some of these countries over in the West, where they'll boycott public transit because they know the effects that it has on the economy. And so when we were, fighting to integrate and sit in their buses, we were losing so much money that we could have had in Black-owned businesses if we just had our own bus, if we just had our own taxis, our own Ubers, whatever it may be. Public transit makes so much money. You know what I mean? So for us to take that out of the Black community and put that into white society only furthers the destruction, of our wealth. You know what I mean? Just to add on to what you were saying, that's a really heavy point. And, economists really understand the value of public transit alone. And that's only one industry. You know what I mean? We go on to Salak, you said you're on mute. I'm not sure if you're trying to say something, but
I was going to say, and when you look at just the bus lines, that's small compared to rest of public transportations. You got trains, you got taxis, you got airplanes. All that's public transportation. You see, all that's public transportation. And then even with your bus lines, you got your local bus lines. Then you got your bus lines that you got Greyhound. They'll take you any place in America. Trailway used to be that way too. Any place in America. But we, like you said, since integration moved in, we don't even have a chance to own them. Why? Because moves like the Montgomery bus boycott, it was used. We followed Black leaders who turned around and sold us out.
Mm-hmm.
When that bus company said, okay, when the Washington D.C. said, okay, we got to integrate public transportation, they said, okay, you can have our dimes back, you can have our quarters back. But again, how many other Black businessmen went out of business? You see what I'm saying? And that's not the only thing that integration stole from us. Do you know in America, it used to be a time, around about the time I was born, that my mother could not go to a non-Black, I'm going to say it that way, non-Black gynecologist or a non-Black, what they call the babies, prenatal care specialist. You see what I'm saying? Her doctor had to be Black like us. He had to be. He had to be. And now if you walk into a hospital right now, you just surprised if you see one of us. And I'm not talking about the Africans, right? But if you see one of us, an Israelite in there doing anything above cleaning toilets.
It's heavy. It's heavy you say that because healthcare is a heavy issue amongst the Black community.
That's right.
And studies actually say that if a Black man goes to the doctor and he sees another Black doctor, he's more likely to feel safe and open up and speak about all the issues that he has. And that actually allows the doctor to properly take care of him. You know what I mean? So statistically alone, just being able to go to a doctor where you see yourself, you know what I mean? You're going to get better treatment. You're going to get to more likely be better taken care of. You know what I mean? It's things of like the Tuskegee experiment, you know what I mean? And these different myths that are out there, you know, that has black people so scared shitless to go to the doctor and get, you know, medical attention. When really the major issue in healthcare for the Black, Hispanic, and Indigenous man is that we're just not being treated. We're not getting the medicine that we need. You know what I mean? We're not getting the care that we need. You know what I mean? And if we saw ourselves when we went to the doctor, statistically, it actually says that we would be more likely to trust and believe in that doctor to where we went to our, let's say, our white counterparts. You know what I mean? So again, that whole, man, integration has done such a number on us in so many different aspects of life. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna show you something that's real interesting. I'm 66, and there are only 2 doctors I can remember by name in my lifetime. Of many times I've been to a doctor. You know, there's only 2 doctors that has ever seen me that I can remember their names, and that was Dr. Young, and I remember exactly where his office used to be, and he was the doctor that was there when I was born. And then when Dr. Young left town, then we had Dr. Franklin that became our doctor until I moved away from the town I grew up in. But by the time I moved away from there, integration had moved in so well that they had, they call them press CAD clinics in the churches, in the basement of the churches. And their big thing was Planned Parenthood. You see that? When Dr. Franklin was there and Dr. Young was there, they was about having healthy families. You know, it was 6 of us children. You see, they were talking about having, and the last set was twins. So they was teaching mom and dad to look here. This how you got to be if you're gonna have a healthy family. And we did not get sick. Had good doctors because they were Black like us. They looked just like us. You see what I'm saying? The same thing goes on with teachers. I still remember my 3rd grade teacher who lived in walking distance of the house I grew up in, right up the street. It's not like that in the schools today since integration moved in. Go ahead.
Yep, you know, touching on that part, there was a school here in Windsor, which was one of the few all-Black schools in Canada. And
what?
Yeah,
y'all had one?
Yeah, it was in a little town right outside of Windsor.
Okay.
It was close. It was close by here, and you hear the stories of the families and the children that went there, and they all speak about how, you know, how much their teachers cared about them.
Man,
they always speak on, you know, the safety that they had and the sense of community that they had going to this school, even though it lacked you know, all the good infrastructure and, you know, all the tools and whatever that, you know, they may have compared to white schools, but their safety was there. The love and the care for the children were there. You know what I mean? The you could say like the self-empowerment, you know what I mean? Teaching kids to love themselves for who they are. You know, that was heavy inside the school. Morals was a big one that they speak on. You know, how much the education of the Black school focused on morals over, you know, something like, like math. Not saying that they wouldn't teach it, but morals was heavily a part of the black school system.
But when you go back in Michigan, well, in Michigan, in America, they call it busing. Before 1968, in the state of Michigan, if you were a black child, you went to an all-black school that was full of all-black teachers, and you may have had a white principal. You understand? And the schools were in your neighborhood. You could walk to them. You didn't need buses. We didn't use buses. You walked to the school. As a kindergarten, kindergarten is 5-6 years old. You walked to school because the school was in your neighborhood, and the teachers lived in your neighborhood. So you had to go by Mr. Hughes's house. You had to go by Miss Baylor's house. You had to go by Reverend DeAmpert's house. You had to go by your teacher's house, and you could be just on your way to the playground, and you would be subject to your teacher opening the screen door, or if she's just sitting on the porch, hollering out the screen and said, "Baby, come here." Now you was having problems this morning with them 9 times 9, them 9 timetables. Now, what I need you to do right quick, I know you're going to the playground, and it ain't going to take long. You studied them when you got home, right? Yes, ma'am. Well, what's 9 times 7? You see that? And that was normal. If you couldn't pass that, then you went back home. Because as soon as you turned around and started going back home, she picked up the phone and called mama or daddy. Said, "Well, I seen him was going up to the playground, but I asked him what's 9 times 7. That's going to be one of the test questions tomorrow. He didn't get it." So you see what I'm saying? Your teachers lived there. Your teachers looked like your mama and your daddy. Your teachers were married and had husbands and wives and kids themselves. They were an intricate part of the community, you see, prior to, and I'm going to say 1968, and prior to busing, before busing moved in. When busing moved in, we all got put on the bus, went across town where nobody lived in that part of town but white people, and we were forced to go to their schools full of white children. We had white teachers in the school who was mad they had to teach us, and so half-ass did it. When folks was around that had some power, they act like, well, I'm doing the best I can, with these little nigglets, you see. But prior to integration, we had black kids going off to college, killing the game. You see what I'm saying?
Awesome.
So that's the way it was here,
Awesome. And so there's a couple of things that just come to mind. Where the scripture said, like, Esau had a perpetual hatred for Jacob.
Huh?
Where, you know what I mean? Where it says Esau had a perpetual hatred for Jacob.
That's right.
Like, of course, you go to school with the people that don't hate you. Your parents are gonna get a phone call, saying so and so is going off to the park, because your teacher doesn't hate you. Your teacher cares about you. Your teacher wants you to succeed. But according to the Bible, you go around, you integrate into these schools, you're literally like sheep around wolves.
Exactly.
Like Muhammad Ali said, why would I trust, or why would I go into a pit of 1,000 snakes when maybe there's just 2 or 3 of them that are poison? I'm just not going to go in the pit itself.
That's right. That's right.
You go into a school where you're around all white people. Good night. Somebody there is going to bite you. Somebody there is trying to do something to you.
And what happens You understand? School are for children, babies. They vulnerable. They're they're easily influenced. So by the time you take a child who's never been to school, say he had some preschool and some what we call that when they preschool. When, if they have preschool from 2, 3, 4 years old, right there in the neighborhood at a neighbor's house, and then from there you put them on a bus, send them across town so that your oppressor can teach them. I'm not sure who said it. I think it was Hitler. He say, if you give me a boy or a girl, by the time around 5, 6, 7 years old, he said, by the time they turn 12, I'll give you a full-blown Nazi.
Damn.
So, you know, people say Hitler wasn't the smartest person over there in Germany. So if he knew that, what did we do by sending our children after integration to these integrated schools at 4, at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old? That's why you have so many brothers and sisters who don't want to deal with other brothers and sisters, because their whole socialization process is different. It's European in thought. So, and then you got brothers and sisters in the hood still going to hood schools who looking at these people, oh, you speak differently, you speak that proper English, so you trying to be white. Because they don't get taught real good in the neighborhood schools anymore. If your grades are good, you're trying to be white. And it goes on. It's just a multitude of damn problems by having them people teaching our children anything. Salakia.
So I want to jump back a little bit.
Yeah.
To the healthcare topic. I got some information I want to read on that.
Okay. You're finna break some hearts. I think you're finna break some hearts.
Definitely. I don't. It says, in Black world, access to white doctors did not in the past and does not presently equate to better healthcare. The famous Tuskegee experiment is just one of many documented horror stories of violently oppressive abuse heaped upon Blacks by the U.S. medical establishment.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So, you know, we fought for integration. We wanted integration back in the 1800s. And when we get here, it says that the medical establishment violently and oppressively abused, heaped upon Blacks by the U.S. medical establishment.
My.
You know what I mean? It says the number of Blacks who have access to all healthcare institutions is an easy win for post-integration if you define access in theoretical terms.
This is not actuality. This is theoretical.
Exactly. So, okay, we got integration and now we have access. So
theoretically
it's better. However, it says in theoretical terms that point to the fact that there are no laws that block Blacks from going to whatever hospital they want, or signs that say whites only. So we don't have that anymore, but it says, as a report by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, this was in 2009, it states that a person's zip code is more important than their genetic code in predicting how many years they will live. And the zip codes with the least access to healthcare are predominantly Black, brown, and or economically disadvantaged. And so that's the reality of 2025.
That's right now. That's a brand new study.
Constant. So
My.
There's no sign on a hospital that says whites only.
No, it's not.
But if you have a specific zip code, and again, that ties into redlining. If you're Black or brown or economically disadvantaged, you are not getting health care.
Let me help clear that up. Let me help clear that up, okay? Because they keep talking about, or you economically disadvantaged. Let me explain something. If you people that live, the poor whites that live in the trailer parks are economically disadvantaged, they say. But they get way better health care than the brothers and sisters that live in the projects in the inner city. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So be careful. That is just to make. Remember, there's things that they'll put in to make themselves feel good about their oppression. You see what I'm saying? To make themselves feel good. So, but it's really what you think, what you feel. Black, brown, and Native Americans. That's what they're talking about. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We catching hell when it comes to healthcare.
Sir. And I'm about to pull up some statistics.
All right.
This is I'm gonna play a little of this one.
Okay. Hey, we getting towards the end. If you could pull the scripture where Joseph was telling his brothers where they need to live when they come into Egypt. We ain't gonna pull it right now, but get ready to pull that one up.
Sir, no sweat.
All right. Go ahead and run what you got.
Sir.
The world has got to change. I live in a community that was so prosperous with doctors and lawyers and politicians.
It says Latino adults are 45% more likely to die from diabetes.
Now we have drug dealers and corner stores that they don't sell anything but the wrong things.
This one says African American adults are at least 50% more likely to die prematurely from heart diseases or strokes. That was from the Centers for Disease Control in 2013.
All I'm saying is my father died from a heart attack when he was 39.
And those are the statistics out of one. You know what I mean? Like it's very sad what's going on in our community in that healthcare field today. You know, and especially when you can drive down Detroit, you can see some mega hospital. You can drive to any of these big cities, you'll see these big hospitals all over the place. And you would think that, you know, I have some kind of safety here. I have a place that I can go to be taken care of. You know, if something bad happens to me, but if you're an African American adult, you're at least 50% more likely to die prematurely from heart diseases or strokes.
Right.
So you got 10 white boys that walk into this hospital and 10 brothers that walk into the same hospital. 5 of the brothers are gonna die.
Correct.
Over those 10 white boys.
Correct.
That's the statistic. Right? It says here, additionally, the obscene mortality rates of Black women giving birth and Black women diagnosed with cancer compared to their white counterparts reveals a level of medical apartheid. Let me bring up that definition.
You putting it out there tonight. You putting it out there tonight, young man. Good Lord. They say it's equivalent to medical apartheid.
Medical apartheid of what is happening to Black and brown women who are giving birth. It says medical apartheid refers to the systemic oppression.
Okay, I mean, go ahead.
Refers to the systemic oppression and exclusion of African Americans in healthcare systems, which has historical roots dating back to slavery and continues to manifest in various forms today. It encompasses the exploitation of Black Americans in medical research, highlighting ethical violations and the disregard for Black lives in the name of medical progress.
Now you know that's old news right there.
That is old news. That is history repeating itself.
That's history. Like you say, there's nothing new under the sun. If you may can find a study in there that talks about gynecology, how all the tools that run gynecology now came to be out of experiments on Black women private parts, because gynecology is the study of women's private parts and how that thing worked down there. Well, Black women, and this is in the history books as well, by gynecologists. They got whoever this grandfather of gynecology is. That man, that devil right there. Oh my God, the instruments that he used were pure torture.
Damn.
The idea that women didn't need, the sisters didn't need anesthetic. That was his idea, that they could tolerate more pain. That was his idea. Yeah,
that still exists to this day.
You say ain't nothing changed.
Man, shoot, the video in here speaks on that. Shoot. Let me
get a little bit of that.
Yeah, I'll give a little bit on that too. Because that's heavy that you brought that up. You know what I mean? Because this was a video in 2022. So this is still going on to this day in the medical field.
You say this from what year?
2022. This video I'm about to play. I'm gonna play a small part of it.
A new study finds African American patients are often often treated differently when it comes to medicine and care. The survey of more than 500 people, 400 of them medical students, found implicit bias exists that may help explain why Black people are sometimes undertreated for pain. Among its findings, medical students believe that African Americans felt less pain than white patients, and even
You hear that, sir?
This is 2022.
This is 2022.
Now I was quoting something from 1940 something, man. What the hell?
So in 1940 something, you're saying that gynecologists believe that blacks could what's it called, sustain more pain?
Correct.
And so they're able to. He was doing some diabolical research on these women.
Correct.
Because they believe they could just take it.
They could take the pain.
So medical students to this day, they believe one of the issues amongst African Americans' healthcare is that medical students are finding that they're being taught and they're being trained to look at different ethnic groups differently. And when it comes to African Americans, they are being taught that they feel less pain than whites. That's going on to this day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yet, God is not mocked. The Most High, you can't mock him. That's why all these fentanyl deaths, and these this what they call it, opioid overdoses, right? That's why they went to his neighborhood. That's why I went to the oppressor's neighborhood. You see that? Because opioids are used to combat pain. Think about that. Opioid. You see what I'm saying? That's to help you combat pain. You see, but no, they didn't want to give it to our sisters. So now their children take it as a recreational drug and drop like flies. I call it justice.
Absolutely.
I call it justice. But yeah, that's absolutely true. That's crazy that that's still going on in 2025. Because 2022, that's a few years back, but I don't think nothing's changed. What do you think?
It has not changed. That study was just showing that they're recognizing that there's still issues in the medical field when it comes towards Blacks, Hispanics, and Indigenous.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that would be like no different than saying, putting in the police force, hey, we need to start giving better training to our police officers so that when they're out in the field, they're dealing with Blacks and Hispanics differently. So this right here is just highlighting an issue in the medical field. It's not that anything has changed.
Correct. And that speaks to what? We need to be our own doctors. Yeah, we need more UPK members going to medical school.
Damn right.
We need to be. You see what I'm saying? We need UPK members to take over whole ghettos, whole projects, and let Shamar handle what goes on in the projects. Let Captain McCard and them become a law enforcement. You see,
damn right.
You know who the head of psychology should be when it comes to Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
General Muhammad.
Damn, Skippy, ain't but one man. You know what I'm saying? It ain't but one man. Everybody should study under general. Everybody in the UPK who want to go into psychology need to study up under General Muhammad He'll get them ready to come into the barrios. He'll get them ready to come into the reservations. Get them ready to come into the ghettos. You see, because without him, without Commander General YAHANNA, the other generals, all them captains, man, we'd be on our last leg. We'll be on our last leg because the other black leaders don't know. You know, they don't know. They have no clue what to do.
Not a clue.
Not a clue. Not a clue.
Yeah, I mean, it's. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, I was just gonna say they think the idea is to get rid of Trump and let the Democrats take over. That's their answer. Let's try the Democrats now. Damn it, the Democrats did the same thing.
Right?
Do you know, the Democrats was the one that coined the term Dixiecrats. You know what I'm saying? And they was the original home of the KKK. And all them racist doctors and all the racist policemen. Until they all became Republicans.
I don't know how you say after what, 60 years? Is that 60 years of voting? How do you say after 60 years of voting that this is still gonna work?
My goodness.
60 years of voting and you still got this going on in the medical field.
After integration moved in. We think more integration gonna help us.
If we would only vote more.
That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Salakia. But think about that. You make an excellent point, mighty man. You make an excellent point. We've been free voting. We've been free to vote for 50, 60 years. And we look at us today, and man, I'm telling you, as a people, we ain't no farther than when my daddy first moved up from Tennessee in the 50s. You know, in the early 50s, my daddy moved up here to Michigan out of Tennessee. Brought my mama up here. And we ain't no better than they was when they first moved up here. In their 20s. In their 20s, you know what I'm saying? In fact, we worse off. Because when they moved up here, they knew black folks they could go to say, okay, here you go. I got an apartment for you, ain't much, but you know she's pregnant, she got one baby on the way. And I know this fella that works at the factory, he can get you in. There you go. You can get a start. Oh, of course, you only could live in a black neighborhood. You see what I'm saying? You only could live among black people. You only could see a black doctor. Your children can only be taught by black teachers. But I'm gonna say Israelite teachers, because they trying to trick us with this blackness now. They're trying to trick us with blackness. You know, everybody that's black ain't a brother. Everybody that's black ain't a sister. You know, Africans are no kin to us. And they're trying to mix them in. But yeah, they had it easier than what the young people got today. The young people think that they got it easy. They can't figure out that the reason they can't get ahead is designed for them not to get ahead. And that, you hit a hell of a topic. Hey, pull up. Did you ever pull that one scripture where Joseph told his brothers to go live in a certain part of Egypt?
So let me get that now. You know, and while I'm getting that, I thought it was interesting too, is that black people got their so-called black president. You know, even though we know that he wasn't a brother, but
you just
they believe they got their black president.
Yeah, and what did a black president do for black people?
gave you what? Gay marriage, homosexual.
That's what he gave you. That's exactly what he gave you. You got that. You hit that dead on the head. He made homosexuality legal in America.
Good night.
We just talked about healthcare, so Obamacare. You can't you can't say Obamacare did anything because here we are, 20 years after Obamacare, and we still dying. You see what I'm saying? Obamacare just helped kill us. Let me know when you get that, brother.
Concept. I'm in the book of Genesis, chapter 42. I'm just looking at the part that you're asking for.
Con. Because this is a hell of a topic. We integrated. Now what? And you've done an excellent job bringing out. Now what? I want to use that one scripture that will show where all the integrationists, all the so-called black integrationists were wrong. Where you at? Read where you at. Give me where you at right now.
Right now I'm in Genesis 42 and 14. And it says, and Joseph said unto them, that is it that I spake unto you, saying, ye are spies. Hereby ye shall be proved by the life of Pharaoh.
Well, it's after that.
Concept.
It's where he tells them to tell them that you are sheep herders.
Let me
because the Egyptians couldn't stand shepherds. Tell them you're shepherds because they couldn't stand that.
Okay, so like it's down in chapter 47. Okay, this is Genesis 47 and verse 3. And it says, and Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt. This is Genesis 47 and 3. It says, and Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob sent not with his brethren, for he said, lest peradventure mischief befall him. And the sons of Israel came to buy corn among those that came.
Skip down. It's after he reveals himself to him. It's well after he reveals himself to him.
Here. Oh, that's Salakia. I didn't change the chapter. Here we go. This is Genesis 47 and 3. Salakia, I was in 42, so. This is Genesis 47 and verse 3, and it says, and Pharaoh said unto his brethren, what is your occupation? And they said unto Pharaoh, thy servants are shepherds, both we and also our fathers. They said moreover unto Pharaoh, For to sojourn in the land are we come, for thy servants have no pasture for their flocks. For the famine is sore in the land of Canaan. Now therefore we pray thee, let thy servants dwell in the land of Goshen. And Pharaoh spake unto Joseph, saying, thy father and thy brethren are come unto thee. The land of Egypt is before thee. In the best of the land make thy father and brethren to dwell. In the land of Goshen let them dwell. And if thou knowest any men of activity among them, then make them rulers over my cattle. And Joseph brought in Jacob his father, and set him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Jacob, how old art thou? And Jacob said unto Pharaoh, the days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have the days of the years of my life been, and have not attained unto the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the day of their pilgrimage.
Okay, we can drop that. Here's the point, so you'll know. A few verses before that, when Joseph was talking to his brothers, he explains to his brothers that you want to tell Pharaoh that you are shepherds. The reason being, Egyptians think very lowly of shepherds, and they don't want to mix with shepherds. They don't want to hang out with shepherds. They're not going to try to marry the daughter of a shepherd. You see what I'm saying? Our leaders today and in the past here in America has taught us to go and live among the heathens, that life gets better. Well, in the past, you mentioned earlier, the Bible said, consider the things of the past, the old ways. The Most High told us to separate ourselves from them other people. You see what I'm saying? Deuteronomy tells us that the stranger among us shall get high among us, while we shall fall low. All of this is because integration moves in, because we chose integration over doing what we did in Egypt, and that is to live away from the Egyptians, away from our oppressors, you see. And that's why we're in the condition today. What we need to do is we need to get back to ourselves, and it ain't that hard. Just get back to ourselves. I only buy, and here's one way. You're buying any perfume, any smell good, and buying it from anybody other than Captain Tazariot, then that other person you're buying it from should be in the school. You understand what I'm saying? We got enough brothers and sisters that know about, a lot more brothers than myself that know about growing food. Our food we should be growing our own food. We got brothers like Alawan Laban and Abawan and Tazarat. These niggas can build houses from the ground up. We don't need to be integrated with them people for nothing in the world. They need to know that when they walk into our neighborhood, that these Israelites ain't playing that. No, you can't own a business over here in this Israelite neighborhood. You see, go on and be by yourself. Go on to Dearborn somewhere. You see what I'm saying? And with that, I'm gonna let it go. With that, I'm gonna let it go.
God, so that's heavy, you know. And you know, we've done classes on things like the Negro League. You know what I mean? We've done classes on, you know, the history of the black basketball leagues. It's a crime, you know what I mean, to be going to an oppressor for anything. There is nothing that he can do better than us. You know, we need to support ourselves, support black and brown business. Nobody's going to do things better than us.
That's
like
right.
Just say we are above all people upon the face of the earth.
That's scripture.
So yeah, with that, I'm gonna end it. Again, Midwest Fire Weekend.
That's right.
I believe there's a promo I can play on it. You know, as ending up the class, I'll put that promo up. The water for everybody tuned in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. All right. The water again is real. That we say shalom.
Shalom.
Hey, Shalom, Israel. What's going on? It's Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge right here in the city of Chicago. Coming to let you know about the Midwest Fire Weekend, man. From July 31st all the way to August 3rd, we're going to have an incredible weekend, starting off with Thursday. You understand? The Round Table of Truth podcast with Captain Mawakwa and his whole team. We're going to have an incredible panel. They're going to be bringing heavy topics. You already know how they get down. Then, General Yohahanna breakdown class. Scripture breakdown class. Any questions you got about the Bible or life period, you want to tune in to this class, man. Well, make sure you can be there. You know what I'm saying? Then Friday, it don't stop. We got felony expungement and gun restoration. You got issues with the law? Come check us out, man. We're going to get you right, man. Then after that, lecture by none other than Commanding General Yahanna. You know what I'm saying? The man over Israel, over so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You want to come to this lecture and get the information you need, man. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be called, Where Do We Go From Here? You want to know where you want to go from here, man? With all this stuff going on, come to this lecture. Check it out online. You know what I'm saying? Then, after that, Saturday, what we got? We got to come back and give back to our community, man. We're going to be in a little village in Chicago with our brown brothers, so-called Hispanics. We're going to be giving out clothes, food, you know what I'm saying, school supplies, man. Come get what you need, man. Come support this, man. You know what I'm saying? Then after that, of course, we're going to a day party. We got to go kick it with the brothers and sisters in the streets. You know, that's how we do, man, in the I.S.U.P.K, man. This the Midwest Fire Weekend. You know what I'm saying? Then, it don't stop. Sunday, that's when we going to have the cookout. The cookout, black and brown cookout. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics coming together. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have vendors, free food. Yes, free food. Who don't want free food, man? Come get some free food. Come let your children have a good time. You come have a good time, man. Black and brown cookout. Midwest Fire Weekend. It's finna go down, man. Make sure you get with us, man. Come enjoy this beautiful city, man. Come enjoy it with the I.S.U.P.K, man. The real priests and prophets of the Lord. You know what I mean? Let's go.
I.S.U.P.K presents the 8th annual Midwest Fire Weekend 2025. A day of brotherhood, sisterhood, food, fun, and unity. We raising funds to cover the barbecue, the food, the drink, bounce houses, snow cones, games, and more, so the whole family can come out and enjoy. Every donation helps us make this day even greater for the community. Support the Midwest Fire Weekend 2025. Click the link below and donate today.